Hey, what's up guys? This is the third video, part 3 for this section, which is 9.1 graphing quadratic functions in standard form. So first of all, let's just go ahead and look at those steps again to graph a parabola in standard form. And you guys can pause the video, check out the steps, and make sure that you guys know what to look for in order to graph the parabola. But just quickly, when you guys want to graph a parabola in standard form, you must know which one is your A value, B, and C. Step number 1, you're going to find your vertex. Step number 2, you're going to draw the axis of symmetry through the vertex. And then step number 3, we need to find the y-intercept. We are going to use a pattern. We are going to draw or graph 2 points from the vertex and then reflect those points on the other side of the axis of symmetry. So let's go ahead and try an example. All right, so you guys see this function here. We want to graph y equals negative 3x squared plus 6x plus 5. First of all, you guys notice that they don't use a notation f of x at the beginning, and that's okay. You guys can use f of x or you guys can use a y. But what's important is we need to know which one is the a, the b, and the c. So my a value here is going to be the one with the x squared, which is the negative 3. So a is the coefficient in front of the x squared. B is the one with the x, and we do have an x term in the middle right here. So 6 is your b value, and your c is your constant, the number with no variable. My first step is to find my vertex. So my vertex, we need my x coordinate and my y coordinate. So for my x coordinate, we have a formula in standard. When we have standard form, we use the opposite of b divided by 2a. So I'm going to substitute those values into the x, and I'm going to find the value. The b, I'm going to substitute the b and the a. So x equals opposite of b. So notice here, b is 6. So the opposite of b is negative 6 divided by 2 times, and my a value is negative 3. We don't change the sign of the a, just the b, because that's the negative b. When you guys simplify that fraction, we get 1. Okay, so now we're going to take this value, x equals 1 into the x in your y function, or your function up here. So I'm going to substitute. I'm going to put y equals, and I do have a negative 3 times 1 squared, I substitute that 1, plus 6 times 1 plus 5. So I substitute the 1 to the function, and I simplify that function, and my answer is 8. All right, so my vertex is at 1, 8. So from the origin, I'm going to plot the point 1, 8. So I go 1 to the right, and I'm just going to zoom out here so you guys can see the graph. And I go 8 up. So from the origin, 1 to the right, all the way to 8. So I'm going to make a point right here, and that's going to be my vertex. Step number 2, you guys are going to draw your axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is going to be through the vertex, and you're going to make a dashed line. So it is going to be vertical. So through the vertex, I make my dash. Notice my vertex is not on the y-axis, but the axis of symmetry is going to help us reflect points on the other side. Now, my equation of the axis of symmetry will be x equals 1, which is the same thing as the x coordinate in your vertex. Step number 3, you guys are going to find your y-intercept. And my y-intercept, remember that we let x equal to 0, and then we have to use the c value in my standard form. And my c value is my constant, which is 5. So my y-intercept is at 0, 5. So I'm going to plot that point because that's going to help us when we connect the points. So 0, 5 is right there. And let me just label that for you guys. That is my y-intercept. That's where the parabola crosses the y-axis. Now we need to find 2 points from the vertex. And that's going to help us to be more accurate when we connect the points. So my pattern that we use is 1, 1, 2, 4 from the vertex, not the origin. You have to do this from the vertex. And keep in mind that when a is not 1, right now it's negative 3, you're going to have to multiply these two numbers by the a value. So I'm going to multiply 1 times negative 3 which is negative 3, and 4 times negative 3, which is negative 12. So from the vertex right here, I go 1 to the right, 3 down, and I make a point. 1 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and that's my first point here. And if you guys notice, my reflection on the other side is the actual y-intercept. So we're good with that point. But let's go ahead and find the second point. 2 to the right from the vertex and negative 12 down. So I go 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me do that again. 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to make a point right here. So when I make the points, I'm going to reflect that point on the other side. So it is 2 units away from the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to do 2 units away from the axis of symmetry on the other side. So notice 1, 2 to the axis of symmetry, 1, 2 away from the axis of symmetry. And now you guys connect your parabola, and we have a U shape going down because the A value is negative. When the A value is positive, the parabola is going to go up. So now we need to find the domain and the range. So remember, domain are your x values, and in a parabola, your x values are all real numbers, and your range are your y values, and that depends where the vertex is at. So right now, we're going to use y is less than or equal to, because from the vertex right here, the parabola is going down the vertex, under the vertex. So we use less than or equal to. And we need to use the y coordinate of the vertex, which is 8. So I put an 8 right there. So that is my range. Now this question here is different. You guys don't want a graph, but we want to determine if the function has a minimum, maximum without graphing, and then we want to state the domain and the range. So it's all about the direction of the parabola for min or max, and the vertex for the axis, not the axis of symmetry, sorry, for the domain and range. So first of all, let's talk about the values a, b, and c. So let's look at this function. Notice the notation they're using is f of x instead of the y, which is okay. But I am going to need to find the a value, b, and c. So my a value is going to be my negative 1, which is right here next to the x squared, the coefficient. We do have an invisible 1, negative 1. B is the one with the x, so negative 4, and c is your constant. Now looking at the a value right here, we know that when the a value is negative, the parabola needs to go down. So I'm just going to make a U shape going down like this on the side. We're not graphing, but this gives me a visual of what the parabola looks like. So when the parabola goes down, my vertex is going to be up here. So when you know your vertex, and let me just put a point here and a V, when the vertex is on top of the parabola, that means it's a maximum. So my vertex will be a max. And let me just put here maximum, so you know that we do have one, maximum. And I need to find that maximum point. And that's going to help me for the domain and the range. So to find the maximum point, remember we need the x and the y coordinates. So for the x coordinate, I use the formula opposite of b divided by 2a. So I substitute the b and the a. So opposite of b, opposite of negative 4, that's positive 4, over 2 times negative 1. And my x value will be negative 2. After you simplify, 4 divided by 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So we have a negative 2 here for the x coordinate. And then I go back and I substitute this number into the x right here and right here. I'm going to change this to y because that's what I'm looking for here. So I'm just going to change it to y, and that's fine. F of x is the same thing as y. And I substitute the negative 2 into the function. So I have a negative times a negative 2 squared minus 4 times a negative 2 minus 6. So your y value is negative 2. So my maximum point is at negative 2 and negative 2. Now this is what's important right here, because that's going to help us with the range. Domain, we know that every parabola for the domain is all real numbers. So I'm going to put here domain, all real numbers. Now for my range, I need to use the y value for that vertex, which is my maximum point in this parabola. and it's going to be a less than or equal to, because remember that the product goes down. So when the product goes down, we use the inequality less than or equal to, and my y value is -2. So I found my maximum point, and I found my domain and range. My next example here, we have f of x equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 3. Well, first of all, let's find the a, b, and c. So a is 2, the one with the x squared, b is -8, the one with the x, and c is +3. My a value is positive, so that means that my u-shape is going to go up, just like this, right here. And the parabola, or the vertex on the parabola, is going to be on the bottom, right there. That's my vertex. So when the vertex is on the bottom, that's a minimum point. So we have a minimum here, and we need to find our x and y for my vertex, because that was going to help us with the domain and range. So my x coordinate and y coordinate. So x will equal opposite of b divided by 2a. So x equals opposite of b, which is +8, divided by 2 times a, which is 2 right here. And I simplify, so x equals 2. So my x value, my x coordinate is 2. Now I'm going to go back and substitute the x into the function. So I need to find the y. And once again, I change in the f of x to the y. So 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 3. So your y value equals -5. So our vertex is at 2 and -5. Now for my range, remember, this is what we need, the y coordinate. So let's go ahead and put the domain first. So my domain is all real numbers for any parabola, and my range is y is greater than or equal to, and I'm using a greater than or equal to because the parabola is going up. Remember that your a value is positive, so we know the parabola has to go up. So we use greater than or equal to my y value, which is -5. So we found the minimum, we found the domain, and the range. Alright guys, so this concludes my third video for this section. If you guys like my videos, you guys can hit that like button. You can also subscribe. Make sure you guys practice, and I'll see you guys later.